Let it go この決意 Unbreakable 愛する世界に不正なアクセス許さないぜターゲットロックオン今すぐ出動 It's moving time 飛び込め危機の最前線シャットダウン完了特命戦隊ゴーバスター
It's time to review The Legend of K for the PlayStation 2. Okay, this is my fourth and probably final review remake that I'm going to be doing. Why am I doing it? Well, when I started doing reviews, I was fairly new to Windows Movie Maker and I didn't know how it works. For one example, I didn't actually know that you could split the video at any point. I thought you could only do it at the end of each block. So, when I made my first 4 reviews, I basically split at the end of each block whenever I had to change a clip or go to a new picture. And for my first 2 reviews, well, that worked out okay. But with Legend of K, it didn't work out. Pictures I made usually came several seconds before or after they were needed. And it was really embarrassing, so I decided to do it again. So, let's start. Legend of K is a 3D platforming hack-and-slash game that was developed by the now-defunct Neon Studios and was released in 2005. It was published by Capcom over in America, but in Europe, or where I'm doing this from, it was published by Joe Wood Productions, aka the developers of the Painkiller shooters. I don't know how the game performed commercially. I know it did fine critically, but it must not have sold very well since it was the last game Neon Studios developed before going defunct. I originally saw the game in an ad from an old gaming magazine when I was 9, and when I saw the game in stores a while back, I figured I'd get it for the hell of it and see how good it is. So, let's find out how good The Legend of K is. The game takes place in stereotypical Chinese place number 8456, otherwise known as Yanqing, where the land is inhabited by cats that, well, are rather bland, rabbits with Brooklyn accents, I don't know, Jamaican frogs, and pandas that have figures that resemble women, I don't know. Anyways, they're invaded by gorillas and rats led by Minister Shun and Tak the Rat Alchemist, and they take over the village of cats, which, as we all know, is populated with dogs. One of the villagers is a ginger cat named K, who spends his days coming up with lame insults and training in his alcoholic master's school. And no, I'm not making any drunken master jokes, go away! Anyways, one day the school is closed due to being, and I quote, a terrorist training camp, and K thinks that the enemies have gone too far and decides to take his master's sword and leave to save stereotypical Chinese place number 8456, otherwise known as Yanqing. Legend of K is a hybrid of a 3D platform and a hack-and-slash game. The X button jumps with an obligatory double jump, square attacks enemies and is the action button, circle crouches and rolls while moving, and triangle blocks. The R1 button grabs enemies, but you have to be behind them for it to work, and R2 changes weapons from the standard sword to the fast but weak claws to the strong but slow hammer. You can also carry up to 5 items which can be switched with the L2 button and can be used by pressing L1. Around the levels there are coins and crystals. The coins come in many varieties and can be used to buy various items at the shop, for example new weapons, armor, upgrades to your health or magic, and the crystals are mainly to get a high score, which gives you unlockable content when you complete a level, for example character models, concept art, or music. Also, you can upgrade your weapons by buying them at the shop, as I already said, or finding them in the levels. And I have to say, the fully upgraded set of claws look really stupid. They become jade claws, basically bright green claws. Yeah, that's the most intimidating thing I've ever seen. Also, there are various points in the game where you can ride animals such as boars and wolves, and of course they have the whole obligatory jump button thing, but L1 and R1 can be used to drift around. Of course, there's a few flaws with the game. For starters, the game doesn't allow you to go back to previous levels for some reason, I have no idea, which is why the footage you're seeing is downloaded from YouTube. Oh yeah, and the acting's really dull. I mean, if you like the acting, then fine, but to me it's just really dull. Plus, I don't like K. I mean, let's look at a few things. For starters, he has no personality. He's just really, really bland. His English voice is incredibly dull, and his character model's face has the expression of a smug dick that you want to punch, you know, half the population of Cork. Also, he has some terrible insults. For example, a lot of the time he refers to the rat enemies as, and I quote, cheese breaths. How is that insulting them? It's as if someone would come up to me and call me blonde furry. Exactly how am I meant to be offended by that? Also, my worst problem with the game is that, well, it's rather forgettable as in it's just there. It doesn't do anything special, really. It's rather bland. I mean, it's no different than other 3D platformers, and like I said in my review for Spyro Heroes Tale, it had a lot of competition when it came out. What did it have to deal with again? Oh yeah, Jack 3, Ratchet & Clank 3, Sly 2, and Crash to Insanity. Yeah, the sales would probably definitely be good. However, I do like a fair bit of the game. The minor part I enjoyed is the comic art in the FMVs. They look absolutely lovely. They're very colorful and there's a lot of detail. Seriously, I wish the whole game looked like this, like a whole cel-shaded thing going on. However, the game tries really, and I mean really hard, to make it look as gimmicky as possible, and believe me, it gets very, very close. I also think the music's very well done. However, I'll admit it's actually rather forgettable. The graphics are pretty good too, and Kay's character model has a lot of great animation, despite looking like a dick. And the game is pretty long too, being about 10 hours long in total. However, as I said, you can't replay previous levels, so there's not much replayability on offer when you're done with it the first time. I also like the levels since they had a lot of atmosphere going on, but I think it was mainly just the music that helped with that. And I did like the combat as well, since it was satisfying to slash enemies and find out which weapons work. The Legend of K is a fun game with awesome combat, great comic art, it's pretty long, the graphics are good, and the music's well produced. However, K annoys me. You can't go back to previous levels for whatever reason, thus killing the replayability. The voice acting is bland, and there's nothing really special about the game. However, if you like the game a lot or love it, more power to you, but to me, it just gets a Jack and Daxter, meaning it's a pretty good game.